From Detroit to the World, Eminem's Rise. Part 1. Introduction. Imagine a small, rundown house on a quiet street in Detroit. Inside lives a boy named Marshall Bruce Mathers III. He is just 6 years old. The walls are chipped and the windows rattle in the wind. The floor creaks when he walks. Marshall lives here with his mother. Money is very short. They cannot pay for new clothes or toys. Sometimes they run out of food. The light turns off because they cannot pay the bills. Yet inside this house, Marshall's heart is full of dreams. Every morning, Marshall wakes up to the sound of his mother's voice. She cooks simple breakfast, cold cereal or toast. He puts on old, too small clothes. He goes to school in a bus that smells like every other bus. At school, he is quiet. He has no best friends and few happy days. His classmates laugh at his haircut. They laugh at his dusty shoes. He feels small, invisible. But inside, something powerful grows. At 10 years old, Marshall finds his escape in music. He listens to his cousin's rapper tapes, LL Cool J, Ice-T, NWA. The beat, the rhythm, the words, they touch his heart. He lies on his bed, eyes closed, and repeats the rhymes softly. He steals music when his family cannot afford CDs. He borrows tapes, steals moments on radio. At night, in the dark, he whispers lyrics under his breath. He copies them in a small notebook. He practices new words. Hardship, struggle, fire. He draws lines under each rhyme. Each line is a lifeline. In school, he hides the notebook under his desk. He writes about hunger, bullying, and cold winter nights. He writes lines like, "My stomach grumbles like thunder in the night." These lines become his secret power. Marshall also imagines another version of himself. He calls him Slim Shady. Slim Shady is unapologetic. He is bold, loud, angry, funny. Slim Shady says things Marshall cannot say. He rhymes about pain and hope. Marshall practices switching voices, sometimes calm and quiet, sometimes wild and loud. In front of the mirror, he holds an imaginary microphone. His voice shakes, but he feels alive. On weekends, Marshall's mother drives him to a small local club. The place is smoky. People stand in a circle. A DJ scratches vinyl on the turntable. Each rapper steps in front of bright lights. They battle rhyme after rhyme, line after line. Audiences cheer, judge, shout. Marshall watches, heart pounding. He studies every move, how to breathe, how to wait, how to attack a beat. One rain-soaked evening, he tries his luck. Ears ring, crowd buzzes, he steps forward. His voice trembles. He forgets a line. They laugh. Red-faced, he leaves the stage. He sits in his car with his head in his hands. But even that night gives him something. A new rhyme. A new lesson. He drives home and writes till midnight. He writes, "They laughed at me tonight, but tomorrow they'll know my name." In his teenage years, life becomes even harsher. His mother struggles with jobs, cleaning houses, working nights. Marshall sometimes sleeps in the living room, sometimes in a car with a blanket over him. He works small jobs, washing dishes, mowing lawns, for a few dollars. When he stands on school grounds, he feels cold wind on his face. He pulls his jacket tight and recites lyrics in his mind to stay warm, to stay alive. He records his first song in his bedroom, a tape recorder on the desk, cheap mic, beat in the background. He rhymes quietly at first, then louder. He listens. His voice echoes. He hears potential. He makes copies of the tape by hand, writes silent letters to friends. Take this to the club. Take this to the DJ. A friend plays it at a party. People nod. They ask, "Who is this guy?" Marshall smiles, but inside feels fear. Can I do this? Can I really become someone? At 15, he moves to another school. He cries in the bathroom when he is alone. He cries because he misses home. He cries because he fears the future. Then he writes another rhyme. Tears are just steps on the road to my dreams. He carries that with him. By 16, he is almost homeless. The city shelters are full. He sleeps in a friend's car. The engine hums quietly. Rain beats on the roof. He closes his eyes and whispers lines he has not written yet. He dreams of being on a big stage, bright lights, thousands of people, his voice echoing. His small bedroom, just a mattress on the floor, clothes in a violent mess, is his world. There, from darkest nights and hungriest days, he builds words. He builds ambition. He builds hope. This is the beginning of Eminem's story. It is not the story of fame yet. It is the story of a boy with nothing and a heart full of sound. From Detroit's pale light to his spirit's fire, Marshall Mathers is finding Slim Shady, his voice, his armor, his escape. The journey has only just begun. In part 2, we will see how he finds real stages, real battles, and how one tape changes everything. Part 2. Main Body Marshall's life in Detroit was full of noise. Sirens, traffic, children playing, neighbors talking. These sounds became part of his rhythm. He felt the city's pulse in his chest. At age 15, Marshall was no longer a little boy. He was tall, thin, with a hoodie always worn, and eyes that saw too much. He still carried his notebook, now full of rhymes about struggle and survival. Local rap battles and finding the circle one. One Friday night, he walked into a small club again. The door opened and warm light mixed with smoke. A DJ played an old-school beat. People stood in circles around the stage, a small wooden platform. Marshall's heart raced. He wanted to step into the center. He watched others battle one by one, voice loud, words sharp, crowd cheering. Then his name was called Marshall Mathers. He walked forward. The lights hit his face. He felt sweat on his palms. He looked to the crowd, 30, maybe 40 people. Eyes stared at him like hawks. He held the mic tight, nearly too tight. He spoke his first line. Detroit nights are cold, but my fire's burning gold. The beat began. His voice shook, but he forced it. He remembered every rhyme. The crowd fell silent. They heard his words, about sleeping in cars, about his dreams bigger than concrete blocks. They cheered, he continued, voice stronger. When he finished, people clapped. Some even shouted, "Do more." Marshall left the stage amazed. For the first time, people listened. He felt hunger, not for food, but for that moment. Respect, attention, possibility. He started going to every battle. He brought friends, siblings, cousins. He watched other rappers' styles. He practiced breathing, flow, tone. He learned to pause before the punchline. He learned to look into people's eyes. He learned that silence before thunder gives thunder more power. Meeting proof and creating 12. Through these clubs, Marshall met someone important. Deshaun Proof Holton. Proof was older, calm, larger than life. He saw Marshall's potential. He became a friend, mentor, protector. He introduced Marshall to a small group of rappers, D12. They were creative, wild, raw. They believed in Detroit voices. Marshall felt accepted. He found a sense of belonging. They wrote together in a garage, music notes scribbled on walls, pizza boxes, soda cans. They practiced rhymes until midnight. Marshall, quiet, intense, careful. Others, loud, wild, ridiculous. They fed each other ideas. Proof. Make it real, Marshall. Talk about what hurts. Marshall. What hurts is Detroit winter. Empty fridge, my mama working late. Another rapper. That's gold. That's life. Through D12, Marshall learned to widen his view. He experimented. Wordplay, humor, aggression, emotion. He learned how to build a song. Intro, verse, chorus, bridge. He learned that rap could be both fierce and funny. Recording infinite and facing failure. In 1996, at age 23, Marshall gathered money from friends and side jobs. He rented time in a local studio, a tiny room, old microphone, scratched records. He worked with a local engineer. He recorded his first album, Infinite. Inside the studio, Marshall's voice echoed. He recorded line after line. They drank energy drinks. It was late at night. They recorded 7 songs, then mastered and printed maybe 1,000 CDs. They sold them in local record stores or at shows. Each CD had a lovingly typed sleeve. Marshall Mathers, Infinite. Then came criticism. Reviewers said, "It's good, but not special." Sales stayed low. People forgot it quickly. Marshall felt crushed. He drove home one rainy night, tears on the windshield. He felt like a failure. He told Proof, "I tried so hard. It didn't work." Proof gave him a hug. "It's a step, Em. You learned." That moment made Marshall more determined. He realized music success would not come quickly. Infinite was a lesson. Practice matters. Confidence matters. Mistakes matter. Reading bad reviews, listening to critiques, he stored them as fuel. Homelessness, hardships, and lyrics. Born from pain after Infinite, life got even harder. Money disappeared. Marshall found a part-time factory job. Hot machines, long hours, low pay. Then one morning, he had no place to stay. He slept in his car. The seat became his bed. The radio became his night music. He wrote every free minute. One cold November night, parked behind a 24-hour store, he looked at city lights reflecting on pavement. He wrote in his notebook, "Car seat cold, city lights flicker, hunger in my stomach thicker." These lines show how desperation can push creativity. Marshall did not stop. He worked odd jobs, dishwashing, mowing grass. He carried a backpack with clothes, notebook, tape recorder. He rapped into the mic in public bathrooms, outside bus stops, wherever there was a quiet second. He practiced flow, enunciation, tone. He listened to himself and improved. Birth of Slim Shady. In this darkness, a new idea was born. Slim Shady. Marshall needed a voice, an alter ego. Slim. Shady was dangerous, funny, angry, fearless. Marshall felt free when he wrote through Shady. Lines changed. Marshall. "I'm afraid I'm alone." Shady. "I'm angry. I'm making them pay." He wrote songs with shocking stories and dark humor about monsters, secrets, revenge. People began to notice this new voice. It was not just raw, it was entertaining. He made a small tape, the Slim Shady EP, a short cassette with 5 songs. He copied maybe 100. He closed it with a note. "Detroit Slim Shady. Listen." He sent it to local DJs and radio stations. One DJ in Detroit played a track. If you had one shot, one opportunity, the crowd loved it. They called, "Who made this?" The tape began to spread slowly but with power. A new identity was awake. Marshall felt alive. Rap Olympics and a life-changing moment. In 1997 in Los Angeles, there was a huge event. Rap Olympics, major freestyle competition. Marshall and Proof decided to go. They drove across the country together. In their Chevy, they laughed, they rapped, they planned. They arrived at a hall full of rappers, judges, cameras, lights. Slim Shady stepped onto stage. The beat started. He held the mic close, eyes closed. He listened for a moment, then attacked. Words poured out, rhymes about Detroit, homelessness, Slim Shady's crazy mind. He did not stop. He flipped laughs into strength. He controlled the beat like it was his heart. When he finished, the crowd was still. Judges looked at each other. Then cheers exploded. He won first place. He held the trophy and tears came. Marshall felt, this is real. Proof hugged him. They called it the night everything began. Meeting Dr. Dre. After the competition, the tape spread like wildfire. A famous producer, Dr. Dre, heard it. Dre was legendary, founder of NWA Famous Beats. He was looking for new talent. Someone gave him the Slim Shady EP. He listened. He stopped all his work. He knew he found someone special. Dre called Marshall to Los Angeles. Marshall flew. He saw palm trees, studios, new possibilities. In Dre's studio, green walls, polished floors, high-level equipment, Marshall felt nervous. Dre welcomed him gently. Show me what you got. Recording began. Dre played beats. Marshall adapted. He found new strength in his voice. Dre coached him. Relax. Be real. But don't hold back. Dr. Dre signed him to Aftermath Records. It was a life-changing moment. Marshall Mathers became Eminem. The shy boy from Detroit had arrived at a crossroads. Part 3. Conclusion. Marshall Mathers, also known as Eminem, stood once again on stage. But this time it wasn't a small club in Detroit. It was a stadium. Tens of thousands of fans were there. Lights flashed, hands were in the air, voices screamed his name. Eminem! Eminem! The bass shook the ground. He looked out at the crowd, his hoodie pulled low, his mic in hand. And for a moment, everything was quiet. He remembered. He remembered the small, cold house in Detroit, the broken windows, the nights with no dinner, the fights with his mom. He remembered how other kids laughed at his clothes, how teachers said he would never become anything. He remembered writing rhymes in his bedroom, hiding from the world. He remembered being homeless, sleeping in a car with only a notebook and a pen. He remembered losing hope, then choosing to write one more verse instead of giving up. He remembered the beat-up tape recorder, the small clubs, the empty applause. He remembered Slim Shady, his other voice, his protection, his wild side, the words that saved him. He remembered the Rap Olympics, the call from director. The first song they made together. He remembered the nights in the studio, the anger, the pain, the laughter, the music. He remembered standing up when he fell down, again and again and again. Now he was here, a man, a father, a legend. People all around the world knew his name. His music was heard in homes, in cars, in headphones in every country. He won Grammy Awards. He sold millions of albums. His face was on magazine covers. He starred in a movie about his life, 8 Mile, and won an Oscar for the song Lose Yourself. But fame never erased the past. Eminem never forgot who he was. In every song, he told the truth, even when it hurt. He rapped about addiction, love, hate, his daughter Haley, and the battle with himself. He showed the world that rap was not just about fame or money. It was about survival. It was about speaking what others are afraid to say. It was about being real. Eminem used his pain and turned it into poetry. He used his struggle and turned it into strength. He used his voice and gave others the courage to find theirs. Even after years of success, he never stopped working. He released albums like Recovery, Kamikaze, Music to Be Murdered By. Each one was different, each one honest. He stood up against critics, against expectations, against his own fears, because that is who Eminem is. Not just a rapper, not just a star, but a fighter, a storyteller, a survivor. A kid from Detroit who believed in his voice when no one else did. Final words. So, what can we learn from Eminem's story? We learn that talent alone is not enough. You must work. You must fall. You must stand up again. We learn that it's okay to feel pain. It's okay to be angry, confused, alone. What matters is what you do with that pain. We learn that your voice matters. Even when people don't listen, keep speaking, keep writing, keep dreaming. Eminem's journey from Marshall Mathers to global icon is more than music. It's about being brave enough to be yourself. It's about looking at your scars and turning them into stories. It's about never giving up. So if you ever feel lost, small, invisible, remember this. Even the biggest stars start in the darkest places, and from those places they shine the brightest.